the MS in Product Management program here at Carnegie Mellon University. And I'd like for everybody who's watching and joining us to imagine for a second investing a year in yourself. And that during that year, you'll prepare real world skills for product management, for your product management career. And on the screen right now, we have just a snapshot of our most recent statistics for our 2024 graduates. And as you can see, the starting salary of above 147,000 on average, and the 89% threshold that we have currently for graduates who have accepted offers is outstanding in terms of tangible results. And we'd like to share with everybody how this can apply to you and how you can follow in the footsteps of these great students, these great graduates, and follow similar journeys on your product management path. In doing so, we'll start by introducing the all-star team that you have on the screen right now. And we're joined today by several members of our staff here at Carnegie Mellon, and also a current student, Roni Kim, and an alum, a recent grad who's killing it, Srikant. We'll talk a little bit about their journeys as well. And we're here really, the main purpose today is to answer your questions. So we really want people to interact with us, ask questions that you have about product management in general. How do I get my career started? Ask about our degree program here at CMU. Ask anything that's on your mind so we can help you figure out whether this might be the correct step for you in your journey and enrolling in the CMU program for product management. Now, just a quick bit of details about the program itself. We're currently accepting applications for January 2026 classes. And as I mentioned earlier, the program is 1 year in duration. You start in class, go to an internship during the summer, come back and take classes, mostly electives, and work on your capstone project, and then graduate in December. With all those details out of the way, we'll start with some introductions for those people who are on the screen. I am Brad Eiben. I'm the executive director of the program. I've taught HCI for the program in the past. I've coached the capstone projects, and currently I direct the program. And moving through the rest of this all-star team we have, Vanessa, can you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Vanessa Manz. I am an Associate Director of Product Management at Tech Careers at CMU for almost 2 years. Before that, for 25 years, I actually worked in product management and product marketing across a number of different industries. I'm also a proud Carnegie Mellon grad and also an adjunct faculty member at this great institution as well. So delighted to be here today.
Great. Kari?
Thanks, Brad. So welcome, everyone. I'm Kari Calvario. I'm the director of admission here. I'm working on my video being blurry. I don't understand what's going on. So if you see me go on and off, I'm trying to get that. But I'm the director of admission here. I oversee our admissions for this MS in Product Management program. I have been at Carnegie Mellon for 11 years. So I've been here since the very start of this program many years ago. So it's been really exciting to watch the growth happen from 3 students in our very first year to where we are today with both Roni, with Srikant and his class. So I'm part of my role in overseeing admissions. I'm the chair of the admissions committee. We're the folks who do all of the admissions interviews. We review applications. We chat with prospective students to tell them a little bit more about the program. So super excited to share a little bit more about that admissions process. But I'll hand it back to you, Brad.
All right, Srikant, you have the floor.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, you guys. It's very nice to be back in conversation again with CMU. So I graduated last December. It's been a very short 6 months so far, but a lot has happened. I was in the MSPM program to pivot from a career in marketing to product management. And yeah, I'm happy to share any thoughts and insights today with anybody who wants to know whatever they want to know. It's nice to meet you all again.
And Roni.
Hey everyone, my name is Roni, and currently I'm an MSPM student at Carnegie Mellon. Also, right now I'm the director of product management and customer success at Nomics. And previously I've worked in financial services, mainly in the alternative asset space. And now I'm pivoting to become a product manager.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, we have a great lineup to answer just about any question you can think of as it relates to the program, life at CMU, what to expect before, during, and after. So please feel free, add your questions to the chat. And just to give everybody a sense for what we'll cover today, we'll start by talking about who this program is for. And it's a specialized master's for a special type of person. We'll move into why the MSPM is Masters of Science in Product Management, why it's different than other programs. We'll talk about the career outcomes that our alumni see. We'll talk about admissions criteria and the type of student that typically succeeds in this program. We'll talk about resources here available at CMU. And then we'll get just personal stories and insights from alumni, Srikant, and from current students, Roni, throughout the way, and any questions that they really have lived it and are living it. So they're highly qualified to answer any questions you might have. So starting with, who is this program for? This program fits and serves the needs of working professionals who want to transfer into product management. And Srikant mentioned his background, and it's a perfect example of, I'm in an adjacent role, I'm on a product team or in the tech industry, and I know that product management, becoming a product manager is my end goal, or it's my next step goal. And that's exactly who this program is designed for, is people that many of our students are developers or data scientists or some type of role that interacts with PMs, and you understand what product management is about, and you're interested in moving in that more strategic, higher level team management direction. The other type of person that is well served by the MSPM degree is earlier career PMs that haven't had any formal type of training. And that's a lot of product managers are deficient in significant and formal training. They were either thrust into the role or they stepped in and realized, I don't really understand what it means to be a product manager. And this program will help them develop those skills, that broader understanding, and build credentials along the way. So there are other types of people, but those two types, both people who want to transition into PM, and there's a lot of people that want to transition into PM. It's highly competitive, which is where a degree really comes in handy. And then people who are PMs and realizing I would benefit by formal training in my situation. So now we'll transition into why the MSPM program is different. So the MSPM program is in many ways one of a kind. There really aren't other product management degrees out there. They're very rare, and most of them are not directly focused on product management in the way that we are. And that's really the number one thing that sets us apart as you're deciding what the next step for me is if you're not sure you want to be a PM, then maybe MSPM is not for you. But if you are sure that my direction, my journey is leading toward product management, and I want to do everything possible to make it happen, then you should really consider this program, this degree, as a potential step for you. And the things that make the program different, it's everything from start to finish throughout the experience. But this program focuses on the core PM skills. It focuses on business. I didn't mention earlier, this program, one of the unique factors is that it's a hybrid program, 50% Tepper School of Business at CMU and 50% School of Computer Science at the #1 computer science school. So it's a high quality education coming from both directions. So we cover business fundamentals and we cover technology, which those are great, and CMU excels at both of those. But there are about 1 million degrees that you could get that cover business and technology. Like that isn't what makes us special yet. When we start adding human-centered design as a core element of the curriculum, now we start to really cover the full breadth of product management in a way that other programs generally do not. And then the other special element that applies to our program that is unique is that it's very, very focused on hands-on training and practical application of the PM principles as you go through. So it's integrated in that way where you're gaining experience while you're learning. And those are the things that make us different and the things that you should consider. I specifically mentioned why we're designed this way. And the reason is because employers recognize that it's difficult to learn product management in isolation without doing. So we have a lot of doing incorporated into this program along the way. Is there anything I missed from the rest of anything to add, Srikant, Roni, that you've seen that makes it special otherwise?
I think you hit the nail in the coffin, and I think mainly, most importantly, is just trying to being able to like network, and having that Carnegie Mellon brand name is something that's been super helpful. And that's something for me. I feel like when I talk to people and I kind of like tell them that I'm a Tepper student, like that brand recognition that comes with it is something that I feel like has been helpful for me as well too.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think the fact that it's a one-year program was a big thing for me. Like I've been working since 2013. I have a fair amount of experience, and an MBA is a 2-year commitment, and it looked like on the outset, at least, it looked like a lot of time that I would be away from the job market for. So I like the fact that it was 1 year and intensive. It was exactly what I was looking for at the time.
Great. Anything to add, or did anyone catch any relevant questions related to the structure? I've been too busy talking to look at the chat. We can come back to any questions
I think it'll be worth it at the end to kind of, as we've done in the past, is to look through. I think we'll cover some of the things in our presentation, but so I think for right now, we'll keep moving. But I think we've got some good ones in there for us in just a bit.
Thanks, Kari. Yeah, so that leads us to next up, we'll talk about the career outcomes that our alumni see and the type of support that they get and sort of the different industries and so on where they end up. Vanessa, do you want to run with that?
Yeah. So hi, everyone. So one thing I want to acknowledge is it's just not easy to break into the product management market these days, right? And I think, one thing has been true, though, my entire career and remains true today is that a well-rounded candidate is always going to be valuable. And what Brad just described is what makes a well-rounded candidate. Someone who understands technology, understands the human element, and then understands business. So, I just wanted to hit really quickly on, I could talk about a lot of different things, but just one of the things that I like to talk about is just what a well-rounded outcomes that we have when we look at the places that our students land. It isn't just a handful of companies anymore. Our graduates land roles at a wide range of employers. Even on this call, you have Roni, who's at an early-ish stage blockchain company, and Srikant, who's at a very well-established hardware AI related firm. We do still have a lot of students who land at the Amazons and the PayPals and the Microsofts of the world, but we also have a fair amount of students that intern and land full-time roles at high growth SaaS companies, startups, fintech, healthcare, robotics. Really, we try to help you identify where your strengths lie in your career journey very early in the process, and let that guide your search versus kind of ending up with a very short list of the same 12 companies that literally every other MS and MBA student is aiming for. We really work together to build a larger list of target companies that help diversify your search. And what that's resulted in is a very large, diverse set of employers that our students and eventually our alumni end up landing at. So really great outcomes we see from our students, both in internships and in full-time roles.
Yeah, gotta fix that unmute button. Totally true. Thanks, Vanessa. And I'm sure we'll get plenty of questions related to those careers as we go. So please, as I mentioned earlier, to the audience, please feel free to drop your questions, and we'll try and hit as many of them as possible as we progress. In order to maybe get some of those questions flowing, we'll move into the admissions criteria and what makes for a good MSPM student, and what is the type of person or type of student that benefits most from this type of degree. Kari, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things is, hang on one second. Sorry, someone walked in and I was like, I'm in a webinar. So one of the things that I think what Vanessa said is well-rounded. And so well-rounded is what we're looking for with our applicants as well. When we launched this program, goodness, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, we were kind of, who are we looking for? Are we looking for software engineers? Are we looking for computer science undergrads, those sorts of things? And so the evolution of the several years that this program has now existed has been, let's look at aptitude. Let's look at interest that our candidates have. And so less of that. We used to ask in our application years ago, are you a software engineer? Do you have that technical background? And it's not that that's not true anymore, but I think what we've learned over the years is there are different ways that you can measure that technical aptitude. We are a technical program. Carnegie Mellon is a technical university, but it does not mean that you have to have a specific engineering background, software background, anything like that. It's certainly great if you do. And so when we think about a good fit for this program, it's somebody who understands we're a 1-year terminal degree. And I think there was a question that I saw of, is this gearing us towards industry or towards more philosophical? Not a specific question around, can I go get my PhD after this? But the goal of our program is to equip you for that job, that set you up for that PM career, whether to continue into it, to shift. So some of the things we look at with admissions are, where are you in your career? What are you looking to get out of this program? Do you understand that this is a 1-year program? The Tepper School, if you Google us, we also have an MBA. And so lots of questions that come up, and I'm perhaps jumping a bit ahead, but I think it's maybe worthwhile is, what's the difference between the two? And I'm not going to get into that, but if you think about kind of, and I think I'm stealing Brad's, but like the Venn diagram of MBA, MSP, or MBA, MSPM is that middle area around, you're going to get the business education. Is that what you're looking for? You're going to get the technical, you're going to get the computer science, the human computer interaction, those design thinking courses. Is that what you're really looking to get out of a program into your career? Do you have that experience? So tangibly, we do need to see technical aptitude. You have to be able to pass graduate level computer science classes, but there are certainly classes that we can suggest you take ahead of time, skill sets we're looking for. So I think about your technical aptitude. And again, that's measured more than just the classes you've taken and the grades that you got in them, though we do pay attention to those. We're going to look at what are those goals, and we work really closely across both Brad and Vanessa that you see here, but specifically I go to Vanessa and say, hey, here's the goals that this candidate, put in their application via a video essay. We want to see that conversational, that you side of things. And we work really closely to talk about, are these goals achievable? If we were to admit you into this program, are we setting you up for success? So I'm a talker. I'll leave it there for maybe for questions. So technical aptitude, understanding of the program and what you might get out of it and your fit in that program, as well as, are those goals achievable? So kind of two big buckets. Can you handle the coursework? Can you handle the coursework? Can we get you to pass your classes? What do we see that shows us that we think you have the ability to do that? And then that post MSPM career, that job that you're looking for, how achievable is that? How open are you to flexibility? So I'll pause myself there, but I'm sure there are more questions that come from that.
Thanks, Kari. I'll add to that. I think it's probably the most common question that maybe you and I both get is, how do I make my application stronger?
Yeah.
How do I stand out? And yeah. I'm almost certain you'll agree, the number one response that I give to those questions is be honest in articulating your background and your vision and your direction, because there's so many different types of product managers to begin with, and everybody is on a different trajectory. A lot of people try to fit a mold, but we look at the candidates holistically in the sense that can this person and his or her background lead them, and will MSPM help them become a great product manager? Vanessa, I see you eager over there.
Can I just add to that? That's, I mean, like a million times yes, but do your homework, do some research. Like generative AI is so helpful in this way. Like, you know, put your profile in there, say this, you know, tell me the types of product management roles in the US that would, you know, that would benefit from my skill set. And then look those companies up, look those industries up and see, are they growing? Are they declining? Are they laying people off? Are they hiring? Or a company, you know, are they getting bought? And are companies investing in them? The most appealing application that I read, because I'm on the admissions committee too, and I love to talk as well as Kari, and is when someone does their homework. It's such a treat to get to watch an admissions video where someone has done some research on their field of interest and can talk about, you know, how they know that it's growing compared to other parts of tech. And that's such a treat to listen to and ponder versus someone who's, to Brad's point, trying to fit a predetermined mold.
Right. And there are opportunities, so many opportunities for you to be authentic as well. So use the tools that are available to you, like Vanessa mentioned, from your profile of generative AI, but write your essay question. It's about being part of our community. You know, so that's where I'm like, let's toe the line between the absolutely use the resources that are available to you. And it's entirely separate to say, hey, can you kind of analyze this versus just, it's going to take you a half hour to write your essay question. And so because the admission committee, of which Brad, Vanessa, and I are all members, we want to see that authenticity. And we're not setting you, like, it's not like be authentic, but use this, but do this, but do that. There are opportunities built into your application to let your personality come through, to let that side of things. You know, there's a video essay for a reason. You don't have to memorize your response. The video essay is about what are your goals? Where do you see yourself? Don't memorize it. Don't read from it. Certainly don't use ChatGPT to do that. Talk to us. It's 90 seconds. You have a couple different attempts that you can try. That's an opportunity for you to say, hey, here I am. This is what I've thought about, or I'm still working on it, but here's what I think. The essay question is another opportunity to let your personality come through. The essay question is specifically designed. It's aligned across all of the Tepper Master's programs. So MBA applicants, MSBA, MSM, and of course our MSPM applicants are all answering the same essay question around the culture and the community here at Tepper. So use those opportunities. We do interviews by invitation only, but we do have a good number of interview slots. So we end up interviewing a lot of our candidates. Those are 30-minute behavioral style, but also conversational. Come to that prepared, do your work, you know, kind of talk a little bit about your experiences, but that's another opportunity that it's a one-on-one conversation with you and an admission officer. And so you have our full attention for those 30 minutes. Talk to us. You're the expert on you. We're not going to ask you math problems or anything like that. So when appropriate and when it's, you know, throughout your application, take advantage of those times to be authentic and to get your, what makes you unique come across.
Yeah, I'd say the single most important step for the beginning is understand your own why.
Yeah.
If you can rationalize that to yourself, the rest of these questions are easy.
Right.
Great. So we'll switch gears a little bit before we get into the questions. We'll talk a little bit about what it means to be a member at Carnegie Mellon, a member of the MSPM program, what the resources available to you are. So I mentioned earlier that we're a hybrid program that's half School of Computer Science and half Tepper School of Business. So right off the bat, you have the credibility of both of those great institutions supporting your degree, which is kind of tough to beat, honestly. And as members of both of those communities, you'll be in class with some other CS students, mostly in the HCI and design area. You'll be in class with other Tepper students who are pursuing MBAs. You'll be part of both of those, or you'll at least have access. Whether you're part of it is up to you. You'll have access to both of those groups of people. You'll have access. So Roni mentioned networking earlier, and that's right off the bat, that's double what you would normally get in any kind of isolated program by itself. You'll have your peers who come from different countries, different industries, different backgrounds, different types of product manager, different types of product team contributor. So, and since they all have professional work experience, there's nobody that you can't learn something from as you go through the projects and the courses together, and you have a support group built in during your internships and your projects and all these different types of things. You have one of the features of the Tepper School of Business is we have what's called the ALC, the Accelerate Leadership Center here, which gives you access to one-on-one leadership coaching, which the best students take full advantage of that, and it helps them grow and solve problems as they're experiencing them in an academic environment that they can then take for the rest of their lives and apply holistically through their careers. So and there's clubs and there's all the university life elements that go along with that. Srikant, Roni, am I overlooking anything that, well, I didn't mention, like, it's kind of implied, but I didn't mention the career. Shame on me for not even mentioning the career, which is the biggest resource that you have. And it starts before you even arrive and follows you with individualized coaching throughout your career here at CMU. And then all the opportunities that come through our career center. And Vanessa, do you want to maybe expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, just that our model is very high touch. So you get to, I'm the main career coach for the whole cohort in our center. I'm the lead for the program, but I have access to we have employer relations folks, we have recruiting folks who interact with employers every day, set up events, and we also have a team of like 7 or 8 other coaches who have industry experience as well. So we're kind of a great ecosystem, but you get the high touch model through me. High touch means you get unlimited one-on-one coaching. A lot of schools limit the amount of appointments you can have to a certain amount per semester. You can have as many as you want. As Brad mentioned, we start working on your resume pretty much as soon as you pay your deposit. Oftentimes you get your email address before I know that you've paid your deposit. And so you'll email me before I can even welcome you. And we start working on your resume and your interview prep immediately. We have a great relationship with our tight-knit active alumni network. So we do a lot of alumni networking, interview prep, and panels as well. Essentially just this whole ecosystem designed to maximize your career outcomes. And then Brad, I would just add on to that, like where you're talking about like the other features of the program in CMU is just access to CMU's tech ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh has an incredibly fast growing tech scene and strong connections. CMU has strong connections to innovation hubs like Silicon Valley and New York City. And so this opens doors in Pittsburgh and outside of Pittsburgh across many different industries to you. So I just wanted to add that as well. That's not necessarily just the career office that's opening those doors. That's also the Schwartz Center for Entrepreneurship, but CMU just does a great job of opening innovation and entrepreneurship doors for students as well.
Yeah. Roni, Srikant, is there anything in terms of resources that we overlooked? I'm sure there has to be.
Well, I wouldn't say overlooked, but I will say it's a tremendous amount of opportunity for students to go and do stuff, explore things. But a lot of it comes down to drive. My experience was that if you have the drive to go and actually, work on yourself, have some self-awareness and really understand what your interests are or what your areas of growth are, then there's always going to be, so many ways of exploring those areas. So that's what I wanted to say is it really comes down to drive. There's only so much that the university can do to put you in the room somewhere The rest of it is going to be up to you. But if you have the interest and the drive to actually follow up, there's a tremendous amount, like a world of opportunities, whether it's non-curricular or curricular or career-oriented, you name it. I just wanted to also add, while I was in the Bay Area for my internship last summer, there was an alumni event that I was invited to, and I had the opportunity to mingle with and interact with like so many people, folks that were still in school and folks that were 20, 30 years removed from graduation. It was really like an incredible place to be. And really that was all possible because of the Tepper, connection. So yes, I will say, like, if you have the drive, there's always going to be something for you to do.
Srikant, you reminded me that like the Career Center doesn't just start and stop with your resume. It includes workshops on and how to network and that type of encouragement as well.
And I think the other resource that's very worth it is the alumni that you get with MSPM, but not only just with Tepper in general. Like, I would say my hit rate with reaching out to alumni is like 65%-ish in terms of like even being like, hey, went to Tepper, would you be down for a quick coffee chat or whatever? And that is usually like the easiest way, like kind of in the door to not ask for referrals, I would say, but just get that in of like, okay, like what are the things that you've done that I can just implement directly into my approach? And that is like such an easy way to do it. And oftentimes most people are willing to connect you to someone else or refer you or whatever it is. And so I think just doing that in a very organic and not like desperate way is like the way to go, and leveraging the alumni there. So
yeah, great insights. Speaking of great insights, we'll turn to your experiences or maybe your own journeys, Srikant and Roni. Srikant, can you walk us through what made you decide to apply and enroll in MSPM? What was it that was your aha moment, or what gave you the confidence to say, yes, this is for me?
Yeah, I think the confidence really came from understanding that I was already doing a lot of aspects of product management in my job. I was a director of marketing at a SaaS company, and I'd been in that role for like a year or so. I'd been promoted to that role and worked as, in that role for like a year or so. And a lot of my job was talking to customers and talking to engineering. And what I recognized was that that's what I really like doing. It was a really enjoyable process. And I recognized that, okay, this is what product management kind of might look like for me. And I was spurred on by that positive feedback loop that I had, where it was just, I'm someone who really likes continuous improvement. Like when I can establish loops where feedback can trickle down from one place to another and it influences change in a positive manner, I'm a big believer in processes like that. So when I saw that that's kind of what it was, that's one of the core tenets of product management, I knew it would be something that I'd be well suited to deliver. And then, of course, I began reading stuff. I started listening to podcasts, etc. And the more I learned about it, the more excited I got, and it became sort of an obvious thing to do towards the end.
Yeah, great. Roni, same question for you. What prompted you to take your leap of faith?
So I think for me, I knew that I wanted to be a product manager. I'd worked at a startup and also worked in venture capital. And for me, like my ultimate end goal is to be like a co-founder or like an entrepreneur. And I knew that being a product manager is like just a direct like in towards that, and then like the best training you have. And so that was like always my career goal. But the thing is, when I tried to do product, make that leap into product right away by myself was super difficult. And I've lived in San Francisco for a minute too, and speaking to all my buddies, it was like, okay, the software engineer route in is like the best way, or just doing a master's is probably going to be like your best bet. And for me, I was thinking about doing an MBA. I wasn't sure if I had enough work experience in that sense. And then when I found out about this program, it was like best of both worlds, because you get the Carnegie Mellon reputation, and on top of that, it's like very dedicated towards the PM, and it's 1 year, so it just seemed like the route to go. And so that was like my main decision. And when I did my application, one thing that I tried to do was like, I tried to get on calls with Kari and James as much as possible anytime like I had a question. So like, it was very easy for people to put a face to the application, right? And so that was like kind of like my strategic in a little bit, and then from there trying to like make as much face-to-face interaction, asking questions, and just really showing that I'm interested. And so I think that was kind of like what I did to help improve my chances.
Great. Anything to add did we miss anything at all before we jump into the questions from the audience?
I want to just kind of just at the end of what Roni said there, I think is really smart and a really good thing is, in the conversations that were had. So by the time, the admission committee came around last year, this time, maybe a little bit later in the summer last year, I was familiar with Roni and my colleague James was as well. And it's really refreshing when you get into an admission committee and have that familiarity. Edge, no edge, every candidate is reviewed holistically. I'm not saying you need to call up admissions and improve your chances, but it's refreshing as an admission committee member to have a candidate and not just kind of, pumping up Roni's ego here or anything, but to your credit and a tip that I would, for others watching or listening is to share that is to be intentional in your interactions with our community. Whether that is in the admissions office, typically folks, we like to save career center program, there, for a little further down the line. But for when you're some of your first interactions be intentional on that. That could mean as much for you as getting familiar with our website, getting familiar with the student ambassadors that we have on there, all of their, opportunities. We have a current student, one of Roni's classmates, Devisha, who has some office, some chats available online. So taking those steps to familiarize yourself with our community, but also to help us familiarize ourselves with you. And so whether that be being proactive and reaching out to the admissions office, we would love to have chats with you. If you're a little bit, maybe a couple steps away from that or aren't quite sure yet, take advantage of any of the info sessions like this. Take advantage of an informal chat with a current student. So there are steps that you can take to not only help us familiarize ourselves, but so that you can familiarize yourself too.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing real quick. As an applicant, you're more than the bullet points on your resume. And one of the themes that we seem to be talking about here today is doing yourself some justice, right? To tell people that you're more than just the bullets on your resume. So much of product management is collaboration and personality and being able to talk to folks. So I think giving yourself a platform to let that shine through is a crucial aspect of making it to the program, but also being a successful PM in the future as well. It's so important to not underestimate the human nature and the collaborative element when it comes to product. And I think that's kind of what we seem to be hitting at here.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Srikant, you and Roni are both really good storytellers for yourself, and then I imagine that you must be very good storytellers for your users in your new role, in your roles as product managers. And the first chance you get to show us that you're going to be a good product manager is when you're telling your story on your application, in your video, or in your essays. So be a good storyteller, and don't use Gen AI to tell your story.
Yeah, true. I think we're about ready for questions then, unless there are any other. Here we go. Question on the screen. What opportunities are there for interdisciplinary studies if we're interested in a particular industry for PM? Srikant and Roni, I'll answer this generally, and then if you guys have additional comments. So in one sense, the whole program is interdisciplinary. We're a business school, we're a computer science school, we're the design institute within the computer science school. So it's interdisciplinary by definition. The way I'll answer this is by describing the academic calendar. So there are 3 total semesters during the year. The first semester, which starts in January, you're in what we call the core courses. So these are like HCI for product managers, data science for product managers, business fundamentals for product managers, presentations for product managers. So you're kind of like basic skills that apply to all PMs in all industries. Then you go to your internship, and depending on depending on how the market is and what's available in terms of internships that you're able to attract and that attract you, this is almost step one where you start to ideally customize your journey. So if I come from finance, but I'm interested in e-commerce, maybe I'll prioritize commerce companies as I'm searching for my internship. And maybe I'll be hired by one, maybe I won't, but that's one opportunity where you can move into a different discipline than you come from necessarily, or other people, probably the majority of people choose to stay in the industry that they started in. So if you started in finance, you'll be prioritizing a fintech type of internship. But that's where the first step toward interdisciplinary element comes into the program. And then the final semester in the fall, which graduates in December, is primarily electives. So that's where, depending on how you define interdisciplinary in this question, that's where people customize the endpoint of their journey the most. Some people are more interested in things like machine learning, others more interested in data visualization, different types of things like that. And your elective choices can help move you in the more specific direction that you're interested in terms of, especially in terms of industry. If you specifically are aiming for one type of industry, it's always best not to aim for one company. That's a poor job outlook strategy or poor job search strategy. But by industry, if I want to aim for fintech, for example, I can find electives that will help me get there. I can steer myself to some degree in that direction, and you can also tailor your networking and everything else along the way in that direction. Guys, anything I missed or anything that applies to your own background?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little nuance. Basically, there's two axes here. One is industry and one is discipline. I think the way I went about it was I was sort of loose on the industry. I wasn't set on saying I wanted to work in this industry in particular or anything like that. But having said that, there are a few disciplines or a few skills, abilities that will help you across the board. So I guess it came down for me to like identifying those areas of weakness and then choosing electives that helped me target. So I became a more proficient coder. I was a very poor coder before the program. Then I got more comfortable with the idea of opening up a notebook and just, writing some code down. So stuff like that is really what helped me. It really comes from just a self-awareness and understanding what your gaps are and how you can fill them.
I'll just add. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Roni.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, I think Brad and Sri did a really good job of explaining everything.
And I'll just speak from like a job market perspective. We look at it in terms of the acronym FIG: function, industry, geography. You can usually pivot one of those three things. Sometimes you can pivot both of those things, and rarely you can pivot three, right? So you have to pick. Do you want to pivot your function? So are you coming from a completely different function into product management? You're going to have to be flexible on where you do it and in what industry you do it, right? But if you're already a product manager and you were a product manager in B2B SaaS, we'll just say maybe hospitality tech, and you want to go into like some other type of B2B SaaS world, maybe you want to go into like CRM or something, you might be able to make that pivot. Or maybe you want to go into some other, deep AI type of space. That's because you're kind of already experienced in product, you can focus your pivot on industry. But it's much more difficult if you're trying to pivot both industry and function. So just keep that in mind. I don't know who asked that question, what their background was, but that's kind of our general advice from like a career perspective. And when it comes to internships, you just got to have a wide open mind, because we never know what the market's going to be year to year. And so you don't want to be overly specific in your internship search. You want to kind of be open to what industries have the demand for interns on a given year, because that does fluctuate.
Yeah, and Vanessa, I think that's a great lead into the next question. How does the MSPM program and CMU's resources provide access to the gaming industry. I think in a lot of ways we just indirectly responded to that. I will say that our program does have some alumni who have gone into gaming. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Well, CMU also has the, what is it called? What's the acronym? The ETI, Entertainment Technologies Institute, is based at CMU. There's also Shell Games in Pittsburgh, which is does have connections to CMU. And I know, Brad, you have some connections in the gaming industry as well. So we do have some connections. It's not a hub for gaming recruiting at CMU, but we have had students intern at gaming companies.
Yeah. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think we still have one at Zynga. We've had multiple at Electronic Arts.
The gaming industry is a bit in flux in the U.S. It's not it hasn't been growing in recent years. I do think, with Nintendo making an investment in the new Switch and making an announcement that they're raising prices on games, that some other companies could follow suit, and there could be a rush of investment. Who knows what AI is going to do that industry? So there could be future growth in the industry, but it's just we haven't seen a lot of stability in hiring in that industry recently, unfortunately. So it hasn't been a really top industry for, I don't think, any schools in the U.S. in terms of recruiting.
Yeah, and that underscores the importance of sort of kind of like you mentioned, Srikant, not being tied to a specific industry. But for those people who are, you reminded me as we were speaking, Vanessa, I know we have another person at PlayStation as well. There are opportunities. Those opportunities follow the market, and that's sort of what outside of everybody's control. But the skills that you learn for the gaming industry are highly transferable to other industries, especially if you have a background in a tech industry too.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, this is the first job out of school. It's a first step in a very long career, hopefully, that you can chart that course however you choose. So, being the way I see it, being tied to one industry and saying I'm only going to apply to companies in this industry, it's a disservice to the amount of effort you've put in. So I think rather than being tied to one industry, I think it's better to pick up skills and disciplines that are appropriate, and then chart your course along the way as your career progresses.
Yeah, so I think we covered that from every different angle. I'm gonna jump to one that's in the chat, because actually, Abhijit, if you can put that one up, that's a quick one. Does this program offer visa paperwork for international students? There's another question. I think the next question is going to be, is it STEM designated? And those are related questions. So I think we can hit those with a yes right off the bat. Kari, is there any nuance to that?
Nuance. That's no, we will keep it at as neutral as that. Yes, we do. And then our program is STEM designated, which gives you the STEM extension to OPT. So all of that, we have a dedicated Office of International Education for all of Carnegie Mellon. We have our own liaison that works specifically with Tepper master's students. So it's, we are Carnegie Mellon, the Tepper School of Computer Science, all of the parent, things are, an incredibly welcoming place for all international students. There's a lot of uncertainty. We do not need to wade into that, but just to know that there are just standard processes that we have. Yes, you would qualify for that F1 visa, which allows you to study in the US, as well as your internship, the visa that would need for that, as well as then trying to find that employment. So we walk you through that process if admitted, and if you choose to enroll, there's a really specific timeline that we follow that's kind of tried and true. So while you're engaging with Vanessa and the Career Center, you're also working on the nuts and bolts around that. So absolutely yes, and you will have a lot of guidance throughout the way from our team in admissions, but the experts in our Office of International Education as well.
Thanks, Kari. Much better answer than my simple yes. I'm going to jump to a question that's in the chat, because I think it's important and I think it's representative of a very common one from Prasad. I'm an analytics professional with 5 years cross-functional experience. Would the Tepper MBA or Tepper MSPM be a better fit to advance my career? The short or the quick answer that I'll give to that is it depends on what you want. So maybe I'll open that to the others for comment, but that's where it becomes important to understand your why. What is your desired outcome? Because they're not equal and the investment is not equal, and the direction that I specifically intend to go is not equal. Like an easy answer is if you're not sure that you want to move into product management, the MBA. If you are sure you want to move into product management, then there's some follow-up questions, and they involve, well, how much time are you willing to invest? Mm-hmm. How specifically trained do you want to be in product management? How important is the design component of the MSPM curriculum to you? And I would argue people often undervalue that because Roni and Srikant, you guys are in different areas, different industries, but I've seen that be the #1 skill for a lot of PMs after they graduate. Any comments? There's a lot of people probably in the audience saying MBA or MSPM. How do I decide?
Well, I think too, it's looking at your background and being honest and having an honest conversation with yourself as well of what fits. Where am I in my professional career? Is it the right time for that? And what I mean by that is am I the right fit for these programs as well? So, you're doing the things, you're talking to us, you're understanding if this is right for you. You also need to understand if you're right for us. And what I mean by that is the recruiters, and I'm not going to wade into Vanessa's territory, but we have a well-established relationships with our recruiters who are looking for a certain skill set, level of work experience, amount of work experience. And so I think it's starting with that upfront, honest question around how many years have I been doing what I'm doing, or have I been doing this post undergrad? So we look at that. Does this align with recruiters for X program, whether it be MBA, whether it be MSPM? We also have MSBA and MSM programs, which are more pre-experience. And so for folks that maybe don't have levels of experience, we cover it all here. So I think it starts by having that honest conversation around what am I looking for, honest conversation, and then doing the research around it to make sure, am I even really in the right place? Maybe the interest that I have combined with the work experience, maybe that better aligns me for an MBA right now. Or maybe I am exactly where I want to be with the MSPM. Or maybe I'm just really interested in, what Carnegie Mellon has to offer. I'm just starting out. I only have a couple years of work experience. That's not quite what MSPM or MBA typically align with. But oh wait, there are these other master's programs. So I would say have that honest conversation. Talk to any mentors you might have. Talk to us too.
Yeah. Hey, maybe before we jump into any other actually, are there other thoughts on that? Because Roni and Srikant, you guys have both been
please
through that decision.
Well, honestly, I don't have a lot of nuance to add. I think you guys covered it pretty holistically. For me, the whole 2-year versus 1-year thing was a big thing because I did not want to lose the way. Maybe it's the wrong way to look at it. I don't know, but I didn't want to spend 2 years in school. I was pretty dead set on being in and out. So I feel like this met that criteria pretty well. I think a way to look at it might be the distance from where you want to be. Like if you feel like you're very far away, but maybe spending more time in school makes sense. But I felt like I was ready already and I just needed to address a few gaps. And I was confident that if I did that, then I'd be valuable in the job market. So, MSPM was the right choice for me.
I think just to really add, you also want to look at it from a financial perspective, and that's obviously a huge aspect to this as well too. If you're going to end up, the way I think about it is if you're going to end up a product manager at like Facebook making like $130K, and then you could do that doing a year at MSPM and not go into as much debt compared to doing an MBA for 2 years. And if the outcome is going to be the same, then I feel like going with the option that's much more economical is probably going to be a little bit more better, is the way I like to think about it. But just something to think about. And I think obviously finances play a huge decision in your, investment that you're making on yourself. So, yeah,
I'm glad you put it in those terms, Roni, because I often think to myself, and I believe this, that it's tough to find a master's degree if you look on average and look at the historical statistics, it's tough to find one that has such a rapid payback and positive return on investment when you look at holistically at the alumni experience.
Brad, one quick thing, and then I don't know if we have to wrap up, but I realized that I've talked a lot about connect with us. The two really great ways to do that. And for some reason, I can't join the chat. It's saying it's having trouble with my YouTube. So mspm@cmu.edu. So mspm@cmu.edu is our admissions email address. That's answered by a human, but that's answered by my team. Reach out to us. So I know there was a question around go deeper into my profile. Out of fairness to all candidates, we can't do we could do a bit of a profile review, but can't say, yes, you're good. No, but anyone who wants to connect with admissions, there's that, mspm@cmu.edu. Number 2 is the website. We do have our current student, Devish's office hours are posted there, any info sessions we might have. But if you want that direct contact, mspm@cmu.edu will get you a response from our team, which may be, hey, check out these resources, or hey, here's some good times to chat. So realize I've been talking a lot about get in touch with us and didn't tell you how. Awesome. Thank you. So that's in the chat now to reach directly out to our email address.
Yeah, that's great. And since we're on that topic and kind of in getting some of the closing remarks out of the way, we mentioned that we would give an application fee waiver for those who are joining us today. There it is on the screen. Thanks, Abhijit. GMAT 26, GMAT as in GMAT Club, 26 as in the academic year for which you'd be applying.
So when you submit your application, so when everybody who's listening goes to submit your application, there will be a spot on there that asks you if you have a fee waiver. You key that in, and that's where you apply it. So so everybody's got it on here. If you happen to forget it or not screenshot this, put that, email us, and we'll get it applied. But you plug it in, you key it into your application, and then you won't be prompted to pay anything.
Yeah. I know there are plenty of questions. We apologize for the questions we did not get to, but you have our contact information. And feel free, please reach out. This can be the first discussion, not the last.
Yeah.
And maybe with the minute or two we have remaining, any closing advice, especially from Srikant or Roni, for those that might be wavering or on the fence or anything along those lines?
I think the biggest thing is to keep networking and really figure out what you want to do. I think, and a big part of that comes down to talking with as many people as possible, in my personal opinion. And so, I mean, that's the approach that I did, and I highly recommend just talk to people, and just ask questions and just genuinely try to connect with them on a human to human level. And I feel like that opens up so many more doors than you could ever imagine. So that's my little 2 cents there.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's so important to not be transactional when you're asking for something so meaningful and so deep. So it's very important to kind of, connect with people at a human level. The other thing I will say is be very mindful of the fact that culturally, it's a very different approach to school than it is back home in India. There are many nuances, many differences. I would say just keep an open mind, and, your objective is to learn above all. So as long as you maintain that growth mindset, I think it's literally the perfect program.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I think that probably wraps us up, Abhijit. The one thing I'll say is don't hesitate to reach out, ask questions. This is a big decision for you, for us, for everybody involved. And with the application fee code, you really have nothing to lose. So go for it.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Yep. Best of luck.